Well, good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and dive right into here. Give me a thumbs up in chat if you guys can hear me okay. And we'll go ahead and get started. What's up, Alan? It is a beautiful morning out there. We got 65 degrees here at my house with a nice, cool breeze. So it's going to be a good day. Should be a good day at least. Can anybody hear me? Thumbs up, anybody? Is my audio broken? Either it's a slow chat. Okay, awesome. Must be a little bit behind there. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you. A little bit delayed, but I got you guys. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this. All right, so we do have a low end severe risk that is still in place here from the SPC. It is for parts of West and South Michigan here. We see in dark green areas from Pentwater over to Fremont, over to Hastings, Battle Creek, Three Rivers, Kalamazoo, Benton Harbor, South Haven, Holland, Grand Rapids, Muskegon. Those particular areas and anywhere between those areas is in that risk tonight for a strong storm, perhaps a severe storm. All right. That is the only risk area. If you are outside of that dark green area, there is no concern for severe weather. And this overall threat is quite low, in our opinion. We're not going to make a too big of a deal out of this, but we do want to highlight the potential here for a stronger storm or two moving in later this evening. So, looking at the future forecast here on the HRRR model, one of the models that we use mainly for looking at like radar stuff like that, what it could look like, moving into tonight's time frame. We're going to look out to our west here around 8 p.m. We're going to have some scattered pop ups possible across southwest Michigan. This model has it in Indiana. Wouldn't be shocked to see a couple pop ups there in Michigan. So don't be shocked if it's about 8 o'clock. You see a storm going up there. Look to the west, though. The main line of more so concern, so to speak, would be this area out here across South Wisconsin and North Illinois. Okay, that's going to push west or eastward into the area here as we move closer to sunset and after sunset. And then this will arrive in Southwest Michigan here, according to this model, at midnight tonight. And any one of those storms here in this West Michigan area may be strong to severe. All right. This is the model that came out at 8 a.m. this morning. If we go to the 9 a.m. model, though, we're going to see the time frame on this is sped up just a bit. This model going to move us through the time frame here, the afternoon, evening. We're going to see some pop-ups there as early as 6 or 7 there in West Michigan, according to this model. But then the main bulk of the activity out here to the west moves in a little bit sooner. This is at 9 p.m. tonight. So the other model or the other run had midnight. This model has 9 p.m. All right. So the main takeaway from this is going to be storms are going to be a possibility to pop up early, maybe 6 o'clock at the earliest. It's potentially there, but the main time frame to watch is going to be, we're going to say after 9 p.m., but it could be as late as midnight. So this is one model between two different runs of the same model. If we go to the NAM model, for example, I don't think this has a good handle on anything currently, but I do want to mention the timing on this is much slower. With the arrival of storms in West Michigan here, this model has it at 3 in the morning. All right, just give me an idea. So that later time frame may very well be on the table there for West Michigan. So the overall consensus, don't be shocked if you have a pop-up storm earlier, or should I say later in the evening, 6, 7, 8 o'clock. But I think this is going to be more so after 9 p.m., perhaps close to midnight, before we get these storms into West Michigan. So what are we most concerned about right now? Well, looking at the ingredients that come together to make severe weather, we're going to overlap a couple things here. Number one being the instability on the surface. So this is going to be stuff for like damaging winds, tornado stuff like that. Looking at the future of this, there's not much. All right, we're only going to see a few hundred joules of CAPE here. We want to see close to 1,000 plus. We're only going to have a couple hundred. All right, so not really too concerned here for damaging winds, but the atmosphere also is capped tonight, which is going to put a lid on everything. It's not going to allow tornadoes to happen, or at least it shouldn't allow tornadoes to happen. Damaging winds would be unlikely unless they come from microburst type of stuff. So this is going to tell us that the main threat is going to be hail. Looking at a few other things here, we're going to look at our overlap of wind shear instability. We do have just a tiny bit of it. There's not much there. All right. This is not going to be a huge, overly concerning threat, but when you do overlap most unstable cape, which is a measure of what cape is the highest here, we're going to see a good increase of the cape here into, which is instability. I say cape, but it's instability or storm fuel. We see a good overlap here in this West Michigan here of about a 500 to 1,000 joules of most unstable cape. Now that is up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So what that tells us is there's not going to be much on the surface, but up in the upper levels of the atmosphere, we're going to have a decent environment here for lightning, but it also would support the risk for large hail. So the only risks highlighted from the SPC today within this risk area are going to be number one, large hail. That is the main concern, but also damaging winds would be possible if any of those stronger hail cores do develop. It can cause downburst winds where it all comes down basically at once and it kind of spreads outward. That's a microburst or a downburst. We could get some gusty winds with that. Although these storms, I don't think are going to generate gusty winds, by themselves. It has to be that downburst or microburst type of thing. So large hail should be the primary concern tonight, followed by a low risk for damaging winds. And that time frame is going to be probably after 9 p.m., perhaps closer to midnight, as we just looked at the models there. So it's a pretty straightforward forecast. We're not overly concerned. A scale of 1 to 10, probably a 2 or 3 on the concern scale. It's not anything you have to change your plans for, significantly, worry about. It's just be aware, be aware, pay attention to the forecast or radar if you guys have your radar apps. And, this time frame is going to be, people are going to be inside at 9 p.m. to midnight. You shouldn't be outside anyway. So it's not going to be overly concerning. But it's basically just saying that, be ready for a storm with large hail, basically. If you got cars, put them in the garages. If you have garages, should I say? If you have garages, most people have cars. But if you do have garages, put your cars in the garages. Be a good plan for tonight. But otherwise, not concerned too much for it, but it's there. All right. Any questions, guys? Yeah, Kyle, elevated hailers is going to be probably what's going to happen tonight. Is severe weather ramping up in Michigan this week? Not this week. Perhaps next week. I knew someone's going to ask this. I pulled it up just in case. But Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, we're watching that area still. Again, not going to get specific on areas. It could be for Michigan. It could not be for Michigan. We'll have to wait and see. But back-to-back days, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're watching those days in particular, potentially for some severe in our general area. But again, Michigan, we have no idea just yet. It's a possibility. After today, we're not concerned about much in the way of severe until that time frame. So, Brad, Brad asked the question here. I just covered that. Seeing models showing severe here next week or missing us again to the south. Already people talking about next week with super composite maps. Yep, CSU learning model is something that I use a lot. It's been pretty good at highlighting general areas, not specific areas, but more so general areas here. So yeah, I do think there is at least a small chance we're going to have a severe type of threat here next week or early next week. Although I really can't say hazards, timing, exact days. I don't know that yet. But there's a good chance we're going to have at least something close, if not into Michigan. That'd be a pretty good guess. Jas, that is exactly what I'm talking about there. Right around 9 p.m., I'd say look for it's hard. Between 9 and midnight, we're going to say look for it to impact the coastline there in West Michigan. You should do a detailed video of these bursts and why they're so underrated. That'd be actually a pretty good idea there. We were actually live chasing last year, and we had a microburst impact us in my local area, actually. And that was a really good educational day because you could actually see the microburst. You can actually see the downburst in person. You can see it on a stream there, too. It was actually really cool. Knocked out power as well for my local area. So they're localized, but if you get a good downburst, they can definitely cause some damage. That's for sure. My NOAA radio will be here tomorrow. That is great to hear, Ashley. That is awesome. Hope you enjoy it. Be sure to program it for your county. It's fairly easy. And if you're confused on how to program it, just YouTube video, Google it. It'll have instructions. They're all over the place online. If you need help, feel free to message the page. We'll help you. Yes, there actually is, or should I say, was a shower slash storm over in northwest Indiana. It's actually in Berrien County now as a rain shower, but that was something we were watching there for a little bit. Decent storm there for northwest Indiana, but didn't translate too far into southwest Michigan here. So, all right. Any other questions, guys? It's pretty straightforward forecast. Not concerned about tomorrow. Could see maybe an isolated storm or two. Overnight tonight, though, I do want to, we can always highlight this as well. This stream is more so for severe risk today, but if we look ahead here to the overall radar, the thunderstorm, not severe, but just general thunderstorm risk, does continue across basically the entire state today. In fact, go ahead and take a state look here. Here's your state view. Basically, the entire state is in the general thunderstorm risk, with that small area being in a severe risk further south and west. But that line of storms is going to traverse eastward overnight tonight, and that across the state here, they're going to be at their strongest, or at least expected to be at their strongest, over here in West Michigan. That's going to continue eastward across the entire state. So rumbles of thunder across the entire state tonight while we sleep and the early hours when we wake up would be definitely a possibility. Although, again, strong storms likely going to be tied to that west part of Michigan. Excuse me, Michigan there. Jay, Battle Creek would be technically in this severe risk for damaging winds and large hail. More so concerned for hail later on this evening. So it's a possibility, but it's not a very high possibility. That is insane, Kale. What do you mean? What do you mean by got curved though? I'm not too familiar with what that means. But if you're taking a test while you got the warning in Lansing a couple weeks ago, that's insane. All right, any other questions, guys? Heartland is not in a risk today. Jess, we're not. Excuse me, we're not overly concerned for that today. That more sun, less sun. Um, we're gonna probably most likely have enough upper level instability, no matter if we get sun or not. So we're not too concerned for that. Houghton Lake and Lansing are both not in risks today. But I will say everybody in the state, no matter if you're in Detroit, Port Huron, Port Austin, Lansing, Mount Pleasant, Gaylord, you have a thunderstorm risk overnight tonight. The only areas in a severe risk are going to be dark green areas. So from Hastings, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, Benton Harbor, uh, South Haven, Grand Rapids, Holland, Pentwater, Fremont, Muskegon, those areas. West Michigan, basically, from US 131 and west would be a good general area. Yeah, pretty much, Jas. That's when we're kind of like, for example, we usually look at the sun versus less sun when we have morning rain and storms moving through the area. We're completely clear except for that one isolated cell in Berrien County right now. Um, but also, we're not really expecting too much in the way of surface heating, or should I say, surface instability today. So it's not one of those threats that are going to be like, if we get more sun, we're going to be more so concerned. No, it's nothing like that today. We're expecting the sun to be out, but it's not going to efficiently, heat the surface too well as it is. Sturgis would be kind of on that border there. No, you're not technically in that risk, but you're close. Going back to the radar here, just to give a general idea of those you just tuning in. West Michigan's the biggest concern, although the overall concern isn't very high at all. I kind of said earlier, I want to start using more so like maybe on like a scale of 10, how concerned should you be, or how concerned are we out of a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst. This is like a 2 or 3, really. It's not very high at all, you know. But looking at the radar here, this model has storms entering the west part of the state here, and these could be strong or severe. And this is roughly 10 to 11 p.m. tonight. It could be a bit before that or a bit after that, but that's a rough time frame. We actually do have the 14Z out now. Take a peek at this. So this has storms arriving at 8 p.m. in West Michigan and popping up at 10 p.m. there. So interesting. Yeah, 14Z is not bad looking. All right. Comstock Park would be in a risk today. Oh, got you, Kale. Got you, Kale. That's pretty cool. Josh, we're going to say after 8 p.m. tonight would be a good guess. Don't be shocked if a pop up storm goes up 6, 7 p.m. Main timing of the more so line of storms that we're kind of watching is going to be a little bit later, probably after 8 or 9, perhaps closer to midnight. Flint is nowhere near this risk today, Jordan. You are just fine. I don't like the way the current risk system is. It's confusing and misleading. You can argue both sides here. There's a couple different angles you can attack this with. And do you guys watching, do you find the SPC, like the colors and wording, do you find it confusing? Curious what you guys think about it. Because it's kind of straightforward to somebody who understands it, but if you guys don't have much knowledge on this stuff, I can see how it can be confusing. No, nothing like that. No, Hastings, no, large hail today is a possibility. Isolated chance of damaging winds. No tornadoes expected. Pretty low end risk today for Hastings. Yeah, Josh, you should. I'm fine with it. I like it. Okay. It's been kind of an internal discussion with MSC staff on what exactly we should do with our, forecasts and stuff like that. Because last year, if you guys remember last year's severe weather, we kind of forecasted, kind of standalone, made our own maps, our forecast, stuff like that. But we are also trying to coordinate to keep, consistency and just coordination between the SPC and general public here as well. So we're trying to bridge that gap, but it can be hard sometimes because if you ask 10 people to label marginal risk up to high risk, you're probably gonna get 10 answers. It's not, it can be straightforward for many people, but for a lot of people, it's not. So we're trying to figure out what the best way to kind of go about, presenting these forecasts is. Do we make our own? Do we just share SPC? So you may have a mix of things coming this year, but we're going to try and settle on one thing. Right now, we're just kind of sharing SPC graphics until we kind of decide what we want to do officially. I like the colors. Green is probably going to be all right, but watch yellow. Yeah, Michael, that's a really good way to look at it too. Like green, could be something, but not a big threat. That's a good way to look at it. Yellow is kind of like, okay, getting a little bit higher here, be more so concerned. Orange is like, okay, now I gotta be concerned. And then red's kind of like, oh boy. And then pink is obviously like, all right, we gotta be on high alert. But it's not a bad system. Noel, after 9 p.m. would be my thinking for tonight. more so that people think 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 5 is like the chance of any severe exists. No, we try. That can be confusing too. We've had a couple comments that are like, "Oh, it's only a 2 out of 5 chance of severe weather." No, it's actually a level 2 out of 5 of severe weather. It can be confusing. It really just depends on how you interpret it, really. Yes, Matt, I think that'd be a good idea. Although the overall threat tonight is not like too very high at all. We're probably going to have 1 or 2 storms try to produce some large hail at some point. It's not, I'm going to say this carefully, it shouldn't be too big of a deal or too long lasting. It should be pretty isolated in nature. But in that risk area, there is some potential for large hail. So, not a bad idea to park your cars, in their garages or like against a building or just to protect it. Um, just protect it from large hail if you in the event that you do get one. The part that confuses some people is it's 15% within 25 miles, for example. Yeah. So if you go on, I'm not sure if it has it on these maps or not. Yeah, down here, no, actually, it might be on the SPC page itself. But if you go to the SPC and you go to like the risk map, it's actually labeled. At least it was labeled last year. The hazard areas here are, yeah, here it is. So this is today's outlook on the SPC site. It's a zoomed outlook. You know, it's not zoomed in. We like to zoomed in graphics, but this is the only place that I can really um, see it to show you guys. If you zoom in on here, though, way in, and look at this white box here, the probability of a tornado within 25 miles of a point. So hatched area, 10% greater, blah blah blah. No hatch today, but this right here is the key word here. So people think, oh, 2%, it's not very high. Okay, you're right, it's not. But it's a 2% within 25 miles of you, which is, a little bit higher than what most people think. So when you see these risk maps here, um, you got to think it's a 2%, 5%, 10%, 30, whatever it is, within 25 miles of you. So that kind of raises the chances a bit. They are doing a first Skywarn test here in West Michigan on GMRS in May. I did not hear about that. All right, guys. Pretty straightforward threat tonight. We'll be live if we need to. I'm not sure we have any chasers going out. We're kind of busy. Most of our chasers are actually meteorology students, so they're kind of in their last leg of the semester of the year here. So they're kind of crunching their exams and stuff like that. So a lot of our chasers and also a lot of our staff are either doing college work or also on vacation. Alex. So we're going to be kind of short staffed tonight, but I'll be here covering radar. I'm not sure we're going to have chasers in the field or not, but either way, if there's any severe weather, we're going to have you guys covered here no matter what. So we'll be live if need be, and we'll have updates. We'll have another SPC outlook here at 12:30 to go over. If anything changes with that, we'll post it. We'll go over it. We also have another update at 4 p.m. this afternoon and one at 9 p.m. as well. So we may have 2 or 3 more updates for the SPC to change this. Overall, I like the placement. I don't think it's going to change too much. Large hail tonight, main threat, damaging wind, secondary threat. Not expecting tornadoes tonight. So, yeah, pretty straightforward. 9 p.m. and after is the best time frame, but it could be later into the evening as well. And then outside the risk area across the entire state, there is a chance of a thunderstorm that is not severe later on towards the early morning hours as it moves eastward across the state out of that risk area. So, with that being said, I'm going to hop off here. You guys have yourselves a lovely day. Enjoy the beautiful sunny weather here. Won't be too hot, won't be too cold. So, yeah, you guys enjoy your day. Stay safe, guys.